Me, guys.
Wow, we didn't know.
Okay, what's your idea, Wilson? Tell us your idea.
For this great
Pitch it.
superhero movie.
So, how do you make Superman an interesting character?
You emphasize his humanity.
You make him not be Superman.
Yeah.
So, here's the superhero movie outline for my idea. Superman movie. Starts off with Clark Kent going throughout his day, blah, blah, blah. Oh no, there's a cry for help in the city. And he whooshes off, goes up, he's in the sky, he's Superman, looking around, and all of a sudden, boop, right next to him, like fucking the Great Gazoo, little Mixoplick, just pops in and he's like, hey, I'm here to fuck with your day, and that's it. I'm from the fifth dimension, bitch. And Superman tries to fight him a little bit, he's dancing around and just like, nah, this isn't happening. Like, I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself already, but it's time to get things going. And he does something like, just puts him through a portal. And what the movie is we can make it like a semi-anthology, like partitioned kind of movie. So the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, directed by the same person, just like done in one style.
Different segments in different areas, essentially.
Different directors,
universes.
different teams working on it. So you get one segment where he goes through a portal, and let's say he winds up in like some dimension where up is down, black is white, blah blah blah.
Bizarro world.
And he's got to like use just his brain to get out of there. Nothing to punch. Like almost. What if there's nobody to talk to even?
That's
He's just
Fincher.
he's a character working on his own to solve a problem.
Fincher's realm.
I was gonna say Fincher almost made.
Directed by David Fincher.
Fincher almost made a Superman movie.
And then he makes it through that one. Mixoplick's like, hey, good enough
Oh
job.
no, Fincher almost made a Batman movie.
Or like he's got like some countdown timer, like if you can't make it through this and whatever, I'll destroy Metropolis or I'll keep you in the fifth dimension for forever or whatever. And then he goes through another portal, and there will be one segment of this movie where it's like you're gonna see him punching dinosaurs and using his lasers on like a uber gang of like Mad Max sea pirates, and just like any scenario that you might want to see Superman doing some cool stuff in, we'll find a way to do that. Because the entire thing is you can do anything goes.
Yeah.
Like you could have a segment directed by David Lynch where it's like that episode of Twin Peaks where it's however many minutes of just
Nonsense. In the
beautiful
purest form.
Yeah, like it's great.
Oh yeah.
And you could just have that be like the entire movie could be like animated in a certain way, even in that segment where everything looks like stained glass and it's always shifting, and like the stuff that they did in Doctor Strange.
Yep. I mean,
a lot of that kind
that
of.
would be cool if like somehow Superman was like in a coma of some kind and he was trapped within his mind, and the only way to get awake was to fight his inner demons or something within his mind. So you're seeing...
basically describing what was it called, For the Man Who Has Everything? It's a Superman story. It
would be that, but like Lynchian, like nightmares.
Okay, because for that they did it in an episode of Supergirl too.
Okay.
But it has the Black Mercy, which is like a alien flower or plant, and it connects to you, and it puts you in your in like a fantasy world in your head, essentially, where you're trapped. Like For the Man Who Has Everything is like he's back, like Krypton never died. He's back on that, and
did they do something like that in the Batman animated series with Bruce Wayne? Like he basically just started envisioning his parents were alive and shit like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could have been that, or the episode where he kept seeing his dad, and his dad was basically saying, "Why do you fight so much?" and all this other stuff, and like you don't need to fight. Like you should just be a philanthropist and help people that way,
right?
And not seeking this justice for my death and shit like that. But
they did an interesting version of that in the comics relatively recently, where there was this whole thing where the Flash went back in time to save his mother, and it fractured time, and it created this alternate timeline called Flashpoint, blah, blah, blah. But in Flashpoint, Bruce Wayne is the one who dies in the alley, and his parents survive, and his dad becomes Batman, and his mom becomes the Joker.
Yeah.
And there's a storyline this year called The Button that goes between Flash and Batman. and it's the start of or another entry in the kind of molding of the Watchmen universe into the DC.
Oh yeah.
That's going on, but because they find the comedian's button, that's why it's called the button.
The button.
But anyway, whole shit happens with the Reverse Flash, and then Bruce's dad comes into the picture from that timeline, and they have this meeting, and he sees him as Batman, and he's just like as the Flashpoint universe is like going out of existence, essentially, he's just like, stop, like essentially like, you don't need to be Batman, like I don't want you to be Batman, I want you to whatever, you can be happy.
Bruce to his dad?
Yeah, no, his dad to Bruce.
Gotcha.
And like essentially that, where it's just like what you were saying, where it's just like, don't, like, just be happy, do this, quit being Batman, essentially. And it's a similar storyline. It's a lot of things that obviously get kind of sucked into the overall consciousness of those storylines, where they get picked up every once in a while, like you're saying on the animated series, do it in there. That fucking Man Who Has Everything has been referenced a bajillion times in a bunch of different formats too. But it's just, there's always something interesting in going back to those, because especially with Superman,
Yeah, get back
people
on Superman's where you'd want to see him.
Well, people always. I literally just had this conversation last night with a friend who was just who says Superman's not interesting to him because it's just like, he's got all the powers, nothing can hurt him. I'm like, you're wrong. Like, you're just wrong. He has a bunch of powers. There's a lot of things that can hurt him physically, like magic. There's other Kryptonians. There's Doomsday. There's Darkseid. There's
And he's
a
still
bajillion
just a good
other
old boy.
aliens.
He's just a good old boy.
Exposed to red, like different kinds of light.
Yeah,
he's fucked. Like
the way you hurt him is not physically. It's you go for the heart.
Yeah, you go for his heart.
His greatest strength and greatest weakness is how human he is, and yeah, because every day of his life, he is constantly restraining himself, right? Like he could, because he can hear everything, like he could feasibly be going nonstop, stopping people, but he realizes that he can't be everywhere at once. He can't just always be safe. He needs to have a life too. So he has to be able to consciously shut that off. He has to like consciously pull his punches every time he's fighting people, because he realizes if he slips up even a little bit, he's like toast. Like,
I mean, his parents probably instilled that, like, check yourself before you wreck everybody else.
Exactly.
He had the best parents in the world.
He did.
No,
the most caring people to ever pick up an alien and be like, this is a beautiful child. Let's raise him like our own, and let's treat him to be a good human.
It doesn't matter who the fuck Clark Kent is, Kal-El is. It matters who the fuck the Kents were.
Yeah.
Because, like we've seen before, like Red Son or any other thing, he's picked up by any other couple, and they've done it where, like,
that's another storyline that keeps coming back, is what if it wasn't the Kents?
Yeah, what if it wasn't this specific couple, because they're the best people to ever be parents and to ever find
They were
this
like
specific child.
the parents of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
the Ubermensch,
essentially.
Like,
well, it was just, yeah, they were being the type of people they were, what they did as farmers and stuff. They were able to not only instill him with, your basic good old American whatever, but that encompasses not only like the moral right and wrong and like caring and helping others and all that stuff, but it's how to be strong too. Like, it wasn't just like it's a lot of his strength comes from the Kents. It's not his physical strength he has just from happening to be a Kryptonian on a planet with a yellow sun. Like, it's strength to carry on that he has from his parents. And so like the
No, we talked about this after watching that last
Justice League.
I think we did, or it was something after that, where we basically talked about how interesting DC's character development is compared to Marvel's character development.
Yeah.
And how the Marvel's character development is so just one note.
well, they just handle it so differently.
They do, and like even in the comics, like Marvel is very much, we're just regular people who happen to have, which they're not, but I mean like that, like
They
like,
try to they portray it though.
They
as
try
like,
to
they're- He's just a kid from high school and has Spider-Man powers.
yeah,
I mean-
exactly. They try to like, this is like, if you had powers, like how would you? But
They do try and keep it small in the scope, but it's more in like the writing of.
yeah, like
That's how they would
just-
introduce the character.
And then in DC, it's the opposite of where they're turned into modern myths, and it's not it's how they, with them it's bigger ideas, and it's like, how do they deal with this quote unquote like godhood, and the very human, like it's not like everyday struggle, but it's at the core very human things that are able to take them down or to do whatever. Their struggles are very human, but it's the grand theme of those, not very specific things. Like Green Lantern is all about willpower and the ability to overcome great fear.
Superman's all about being hopeful.
Full injustice, and then and well, like, yeah, hopeful, and you know, the strong right and wrong.
And the
Batman's
heart.
very justice, yeah, and heart. The Flash is all about hope, where it's just like, you know,
Hope, energy.
and- yeah.
I mean, the
Well-
Flash invokes that peppy spirit. So
Yep.
you're like, this guy is so rambunctious and happy and just
He's-
energetic.
Yep.
And that's what makes him the Flash. He's just
Yep.
fast.
exactly.
DC's characters, like their heroes, go through their stories a lot of times, especially when they're interacting with each other. Like the Justice League is so much, and they've made these parallels many, many times, and sometimes there are literal parallels within the story to the Greek pantheon, where it's like
Yep.
these are gods, and gods don't go through the struggles that mortals do. They go through their own kinds of shit. So
But the
that's why we
thing-
get,
the thing,
these
too,
big grand themes and how it's presented.
That it shares with it, Greek and Roman gods, they had extremely human flaws. Like they were these gods, but they had extremely human flaws that.
And they're more tragic
Yep.
than
Oh, yeah.
any other human. Like, because they have all this unlimited power.
Yep.
And all this, I don't know, they have so much influence in the world.
Yep.
But, like, they suffer the most from that influence.
Right. It's or like, and I always compare it whether it's very literal or not with DC and Marvel, where DC's the idea of things, and you can put together what you want out of it, where Marvel is very literal and hitting you on the head with their stuff. It's very straightforward. It's not about this grand ideal.
I mean,
which I'm not saying anyone's better. My personal taste is for the DC way of investigating ideals and get to the core of human emotions without it being something that
it's a study of the human psyche with DC.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a study of just human nature with Marvel, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Marvel's more trying to just represent rather than investigate.
they want
Because-
you to relate on a very basic level, which is why too it's so successful, is because people can see themselves in that character. I personally don't want. I want them to be these greater things. I don't need it to be like, oh, I could be a superhero.
There's very few.
That's not appealing to me.
Who like try to strive for that in Marvel, and that's why they do like the hero of Harlem, because then any kid who looks at a comic book can see that and be like, I'm represented. Like he
Yeah.
lives in Harlem, and that's his lifestyle, and he grows up there. Or
Yep.
Spider-Man with Queens, and just all these different representations everywhere. They really try and like stand for the people and show those struggles of like
And
the mutants.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole other side to it.
The
with,
most
like civil
thinly
rights
veiled
and-
allegory
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
racism.
Yeah.
And back to Superman, where it that kind of connects there, is where he was saying the very literal, like the hero of Harlem, these people that are very obvious representations. Superman, when he's created, was created by two Jewish guys from Cleveland. And the early Superman stuff is very much like the ideals of those of those two, and the ideals of that kind of sect of people in that city, like that group of people in that city. There's a lot of, because the current writer of Superman now is Brian Michael Bendis, who was a big dude for Marvel for the last almost 20 years. Like he was kind of the one who drove the ship. He's now over at DC and he's doing Superman, and he is also a Jewish man from Cleveland. So when he looked at all that stuff, he saw not blatantly in your face of what, but he could see that what he recognizes and knows through just the ideals and everything that was brought to the character in that initial thing. It was something he could relate to.
He's related to it from where he grew up and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
but it wasn't very much like, here's Superman, a Jewish man from Cleveland. Like, it wasn't that straightforward like some of the Marvel stuff can be. It was very much just, this is what we see and what we feel and what we know, believe from our part of the world, put into.
Yeah, they borrow things from where they grew up. They borrow influences from where they've lived, and they just put it into the characterization of Superman.
Yep.
Here's a little bit away from the like ideas and the writing and how it's presented. Here's a little example. I think is that there's an upcoming movie from DC that I think is going to kind of shock a lot of people, because Marvel has gone out of their way to make their characters so relatable that they specifically say that, like, Thor, Loki, Odin, they're not gods. They're basically just aliens.
Yeah.
They're from a different place, and they just age differently, yada, yada.
I know where you're going with this.
Technology is the same as magic at a certain point, all that kind of stuff. And DC is going to be like, no, motherfuckers, magic is fucking real. Here's Shazam, and the wisdom of Solomon, like the strength of, like, all these different things that are going to be represented, and how that movie is going to be, with it being like bright and cheery, kind of, for like
the big red cheese.
What a superhero movie is. It's kind of, I think it's going to shock people just a little bit, where it's going to be like, this is definitely not only different from what DC's been doing, but from what a lot of superhero movies have been. Because who's even the villain? I don't.
Dr. Savannah.
Okay.
Kind of a mad scientist type character, played by dipping his toe back into the DC world, Mark Strong.
Okay.
Who played Sinestro in the 2010 or 2011 Green Lantern movie.
But like, that's not a character that he's gonna punch. It's a character that he's gonna have to think.
That'll come later.
It'll be a movie that is not gonna be your typical fare. Like, people are gonna be maybe expecting, when they are somewhat familiar with the character of Shazam or Captain Marvel, they're gonna be like, oh, he's probably gonna be like Superman, like doing some action shit. There's gonna probably be some action shit, but it's gonna be more of like a bright, cheery, hopeful, like, hey, here's
not the dark and gritty that we know from
No. And his main, like, arch nemesis, I guess, one of them, Savannah is one of them, but is Black Adam. It's basically just a dark version of him.
Bizarro.
Kind of. He's more like General Zod, kind of. Like, he's the dark version of that. Yeah. But also kind of an anti-hero. Like, it's weird. Like, he's not a straight up villain. But this was done many years ago, where they were starting to get this going, and they had approached The Rock, and they were like, do you want to be Shazam, or do you want to be, Black Adam? And he ended up choosing Black Adam. And this was like, he had a star, but he wasn't like now Rock, like he wasn't quite there yet. Now that he is who he is, he's not, like, originally he was going to be the bad guy in the movie. Now they're saving him, and he might be like, he might show up in the second Suicide Squad movie, as like a
Oscar
thing.
number 2.
but then he's going to have his own movie.
Yeah, Skyscraper.
Yes, Skyscraper 2. Skyscraper 2. Black Adam.
Skyscraper by DC.
Yeah,
like, you have to say the entire title.
DC's Skyscraper, the Black Adam story.
Based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Yeah. So so he's gonna do that. So eventually he will come into contact with Shazam at some point, because surprise, surprise, they have the same fucking root of their powers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they're gonna do, but like, so like he will be coming at some point. Probably not, I doubt they'll even tease him in this first one, but like yeah, and he's
Probably not.
again making everything circular. Captain Marvel, which was Shazam's original name, was a character created by was it Charlton? No, Fawcett Comics. And this was right after, like not too long after Superman debuted. And it was, just like when Captain America came out too, everybody had their ripoff. Fawcett's was Captain Marvel. And even like the first issue of Captain Marvel had him throwing a car, where like in Superman you had him holding the car. This one it was like that, and there was a car going against the wall.
Cars.
Yeah.
And
I'd do it better.
But so DC rightly sued the shit out of him, and they made some sort of concession in that, and he had like there was like co-ownership, or like no, he like the Fawcett folded and he like ceased to exist for a while, and since he did, then that's when Marvel swooped in and picked up the Captain Marvel name for their character Captain Marvel. Originally Marvel was his kind of a Superman thing where he had like the two name hyphen. It's Marvel, and then now it's Carol Danvers, who's going to be in the next. They have a movie coming out for her, and then she's gonna be in Avengers. But so they had swooped in and picked that. So when DC had bought the rights to Captain Marvel, so they owned him, and they would bring him back as a character, originally in his own kind of universe, but then they'd bring him into their own universe proper. And then like they're like, well, so like every time they printed a book with him in it, they couldn't use Captain Marvel in the title, so they'd always use like Shazam in the title, like the powers of Shazam, because that's his power word. Like he's a little boy,
Shazam,
and he goes Shazam, and then he turns into the big red cheese, and so like that was always that. So everybody would kind of associate him with that. So eventually, like 5-6 years ago, they finally pulled the trigger and just like his name's Shazam now. Like, there's no point.
Yeah.
Like if we can't use it on our title thing and nobody knows it off the top of their head that he's Captain Marvel.
Shazam's still cool.
Yeah, well, Shazam's a great name.
Yeah,
and especially it plays in perfectly with him being a magical character too.
Yeah.
The interesting part of that too is would be a perfect and there's rumors that he does appear in it, but like at first foil for Superman, since he's magic and Superman's weak against magic, so it's like actual magic.
Oh,
yeah, actual magic.
Yeah, like real ass magic.
Not science
They're not
magic.
Alien tech. Bullshit.
The most they're gonna explain it is just be like magic's real.
Magic.
Like I don't know what else to tell you.
And it's a very Marvel thing to be like everything's science, because that's how like everybody got their superpowers from science. Like like
radioactive spiders.
Yeah, so that was another thing of making it feel more real, was because it was through science. It wasn't they were born with it. Or
and
maybe it's Maybelline.
Every single thing, even Mjolnir, is just super advanced tech.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Made from a star.
Yeah, so like Shazam. There's a rumor that Cavill shows up in there at some point as Superman too. But
with his
wouldn't
mustache.
surprise. I could see situations where that happens. Yeah.
They've released the first like official image too from that now.
I saw that
with it's him standing with with Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
Who's his best friend in the books, and who also going way back was Captain Marvel Jr. It's like a secondary hero. He had a blue version of the costume. What Elvis based his 70s costume off of.
Interesting.
The pompadour and then the half cape with the collar. Captain Marvel Jr.
That's my guy.
Yeah. But yeah. But it's him which looks to be based off of the.
I was okay. Little aside before you guys came over, I was no joke walking around the apartment singing that song to myself.
Yeah, I've been doing that on and off too. And it looks to be like kind of slightly based off of Jeff Johns' like 2012 Shazam stuff, where Freddy's got some sort of disease or whatever, where he's got a little arm crutch, you know, like the ones with the little like arm wrappy and the handle that sticks out.
Walt Jr.
Yeah.
So
One of those. But but it's them like standing outside of a convenience store, like drinking a soda or something, which is just like the antithesis of every other DC movie image you've seen.
Yeah,
just this dude in this big red, and like they purposely, it looks like, I'm pretty sure it was on purpose, did like a real kind of like a muscle suit like underneath it that's really kind of obvious.
So he's like
it's
super buff, like
kind of, because it's Zachary Levi, who's not like necessarily the most jacked dude.
Yeah, he's definitely posted like Instagram pics or whatever. Like he's been working out for the movie, but like in that shot, I was even like, is that a muscle suit?
Yeah,
the way that he's standing,
it's like
it doesn't look
like,
bad, but it was just like,
it's like Batman's like super armored suit from Justice League, where it's obviously like real buffed up looking and shit, but like, and that's purposeful. It's to make him this kind of, because it's a little kid's imagination of what a superhero is, you know. And he keeps, and it's like a hodgepodge of costumes throughout the years, where it's like it's got a symbol similar to the more recent one.
Yeah, he's got like
he's got the gauntlets from an animated version.
Shorter cape.
He's still got the half cape.
Yep.
They said that was important to help differentiate him from Superman, and to also give him that kind of more younger, whatever.
Is more credence to he might be in the movie.
Yep.
To help differentiate them visually on screen.
And then another bit from the 2012 version, the hood. He's got a hood.
Oh yeah, I like the hood.
Yeah.
I like the hood.
Yeah,
makes him a little more mystical.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gets a little wizardy. Like
Oh, Shazam with the beard, dude.
There was a version of him before the continuity reset in DC, where the Wizard Shazam had died, and he had taken over as the Wizard, and therefore he was called Shazam then.
Yep.
But and then Freddie Freeman became Captain Marvel. But he at the time, he had like long white hair and a white version of his costume that had a long cape, and then also had the hood. So it made him more wizardy looking too for that.
That's cool.
So it's like real. They could do some really cool shit with this.
They're gonna have to lean into the magic aspect to some degree. Like I don't see them pulling this off without.
They announced who the wizard is in it too.
Oh really?
God, it's based off the like modern version of the wizard, who kind of looks like a dude from like, I don't know, like tribal Africa, kind of he's got like a more kind of less old timey wizard,
less
like,
Merlin
wizard. Less Merlin wizard, more like what shamans and whatever were in the kind of quote unquote realer world.
Gotcha.
But he's still got like a toga thing on. I'll look it up.
Well,
yeah,
that was a
good digression. That was a good digression.
Digression session.
The full one?
Superheroes.
Oh, wow. I'm sure we could keep going, but
I mean, yeah.
Jaimin Hansu.
Hey,
Digimon.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, he's gonna. he's also
Jaimin
joined
Hansu Digimon into
Shazam, the Wizard Shazam. But he's another one of those people that has, as Kevin Smith says, walked between two worlds or whatever, where he was Corvath the Pursuer in
Jingle Johns, yeah.
in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Dijon Mustard. Yeah.
In the
he's gonna with
the wrench.
He's gonna play Corvath
Clue.
again.
He's gonna play Clue
in Captain Marvel when that comes out.
Okay.
But yeah, so he's walked between worlds there too.
Holy shit! He's gonna be in 2 Captain Marvel movies technically.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
What if he says the word Shazam in fucking Captain Marvel? What if he says it?
Or he talks to a Kree person whose name is Shazam.
Oh.
That would be hilarious.
I'll probably punch somebody. I'll just turn to the person next to me in the theater and be
Fuck
like, I'm not sorry about this.
Because Marvel, like, you know, it's a they call it
punch
a
them and then dump their popcorn and like flick a cigarette in their face and be like, "Fuck you."
There's no smoking in theaters, Tyler.
No, you just light one up and just flick in their face.
they
jump
call
a
it
garbage can when you leave and say, "Fuck you."
That's just inconsiderate.
they call it a friendly rivalry between DC and Marvel. Like, they obviously want each other to fucking fail, but like at the same time,
The fans have to fail first.
they're friendly with each
The
other.
fans are rebelling.
Friendly enough with each other, and they'll do things where it's like, you know, like the Marvel universe has an official Earth in the DC multiverse and vice versa, and they'll have like anagram versions of each other that show up and stuff. Like Marvel has the Squadron Supreme, which is a team of evil people, but they're all anagrams of the DC, like the Justice League. But in a recent issue of Captain Marvel, the Marvel one, she like, or it's a special or something, but she gets one of the Infinity Stones, and it's and then it does a split thing where it shows all these different universe versions of Captain Marvel like holding this stone. So you see like one that looks like the movie version. You see one that's the Monica Rambeau version. That's like a 70s, 80s version of her. But then like cut off to the side, you see somebody. The colors are different, but it's very clearly the Captain Marvel, like the Shazam costume. Like he's got like his main costume's like where it's red, it's green, and his cape is blue instead of white. But it's very clearly the DC Captain Marvel. So they'll still like do little shit like that. So they acknowledge like there's this Captain Marvel,
sneaky deakies.
that Captain Marvel. But yeah, he will be in 2 fucking Captain
The
Marvel
last
movies.
thing I want to bring up
That's crazy.
is, did you guys hear about the fans rebelling?
About what?
About what?
Oh, the fans are rebelling against Disney, against the current makers of Star Wars. There has been an official declaration of independence from the fans to Disney
And Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy.
mainly to Kathleen Kennedy. And it seriously is written out as a declaration of independence, like, we the fans will not stand by what you guys are making anymore with your social political viewpoints you're trying to get across with your movies, blah blah blah. This wasn't what Lucas intended, like all this shit.
Yeah.
And it's an official document that they signed over, and like they were like, our concessions are if you do this, this, and this with the characters, like respect them and who they are, and let them be who they want to be in the movies, and let them have their stories, then we'll be pleased. And
It's like, don't get me wrong,
it
like
makes me
go
ashamed to call myself a fan, like, to any degree of Star Wars.
We'll go on a digression with that.
Yeah.
we'll have a Star Wars digression.
Yeah, but
We'll bring Sean in.
you
so
guys
we can
didn't
have
react
that
when
discussion.
I
God,
first said it.
that
No,
will
we
be
will.
I don't want to be there for that conversation.
No, we will. It would be fun.
Oh,
with
dude, you
Sean.
gotta.
I love talking with Sean about Star Wars.
Yeah,
because he's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's great.
He gets real. I don't want to say stubborn because that has a negative connotation, but it's very very staunch and just like
It's coming from a
this is
place
it.
of like true love for
yeah.
the world.
And
yeah.
that should
And
be
there's different
celebrated.
types of because like I really love Star Wars too.
Yeah.
But I have a more like on the opposite side where it's just like, let's see what other people will do with
Right.
it.
We'll talk about that
Yeah.
though in
Yeah.
another one.
Next time
So, the only
on
reason I brought that
digression
up-
session.
The only reason I brought that up is because I said the fans are rebelling, and if you had known about it, I would imagine you would have said something.
Yeah.
I didn't read
And
the
I just
declaration,
wanted to
but
clarify that
we'll
you
read the
didn't
declaration
know.
when we start the
Yes,
next digression.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes.
This-
Have fun.
Thus ends our digression
Goodbye,
session.
everybody. This was Digression Session.
Yeah. Stay tuned for Speed Racer podcast.